That year, officials of just one of the nation's railroads, the Southern Pacific, reported that 683,000 transients had been discovered moving from town to town in the company's boxcars. The Maddox family was now among them. In Oakland, California, they found temporary shelter living in a jumble of drainage culverts called Pipe City.
Way out in Reno, Nevada, where romance blooms and fades, a great delight.
This here's Woody Guthrie introducing the Maddox brothers and Rose. They are the best hillbilly string band in these 48 states of ours.
Absolutely.
I could not safely tell you that they are the best family of singers I've heard. They are this because of the fact that they have lived and grown, argued and joked, played and sang as a family. Keep on being a family and let those songs heal, protect, awaken, and give full dignity to that larger family of all shades and shapes and sizes of bank accounts who dwell under the leaves of the world. We look to them to draw this family a little closer round the welcome table for the next meal. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to see y'all in here in San Juan Capistrano for our tribute to Rose Maddox. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the sweetheart of country music, Rose Maddox, who made her name singing in America's best hill county string band, Modesto, California's own Maddox, Rose, and Rose.
Let me help you with that, ma'am.
Hang on, I'll be right out. I don't need anybody helping me walk onto a stage. I've been doing that my whole life. Like I tell the men folk back home, don't go poking in my fireplace. I don't like nobody messing with my fire. Good evening. Everybody, it is so good to see you. As you can see, our band likes to dress up real swell. Tennessee Ernie Ford once said, our costumes would make Liberace look like a plucked chicken. Well, maybe that's true, but what do you expect from a bunch of sharecroppers from Boaz, Alabama, growing up during the Depression like we did? Let me tell you, those were hard times. Mama and Pa had 4 children. Not counting that baby Mama lost 2 years before I was born. Family was growing cotton, sharecropping on a farm, working from sun up to sundown, and just barely scraping out a living. Growing up, we didn't have 2 sticks to rub together. When we was working in the fields, we'd maybe have enough left over to get a little something. It was slim pickings. People near us used to say all the money that folks earned during them roaring 20s just roared right by us folks in the backwoods of Alabama. When the Great Depression hit, we were so bad off we hardly noticed. That's not strictly true, of course. Just when you think things can't get possibly any worse, they do. We noticed, all right. Hard times can always get harder. But we thought we worked through them. Family stuck together. We worked through. We got through them.
Sharecropper's family down in Alabama. Mama said it's time for us to leave. Sold everything we had. California was the land where we could ship right off the tree. With $35 and a dream, the Maddox family hit the road in 33.
All her life, Ma dreamed of moving west to California. She spent what little spare time she had reading piles of those Western novels, had a vision of California as the land of plenty, the promised land. In time, we moved. For us, it turned out that way, but not right away.
Smells mighty good.
I'll say.
Give it another few minutes. It's got to simmer a bit yet.
Well, we finally made it out here to California, and things sure turned out just a mite nice.
I'll say, thank the Lord for the Salvation Army, with the welcome of their camps, the clean beds, and good food.
Oh, Heidi, you can eat anything you want for just a penny. Doesn't get any better than that, now does it?
Mama, everybody, look here. Our picture's in the paper. They wrote a story about us.
Well, that's us, all right. Well, we was living in Pipe City near Oakland.
Kept us dry in the rain, though. Warm, too.
The paper here's got a whole story about us, a family riding the rails.
Spelled our name wrong, though.
Sure is a big change from Alabama.
Ain't that the truth?
Change for the better, to my way of thinking.
Even if we were living in a hobo camp.
Let me tell you, ain't nothing tastes better than hobo stew.
Sometimes in life you want to do something, but you can't decide to do it until there's something forcing you to it. Frog don't leap off a sunny rock unless there's a reason to. Now, our rock wasn't all that sunny, especially after cotton hit about the bottomest rock bottom price it had been in a long time.
I remember Papa believed that if the boss man had held out a little longer, that poor spell would end and we'd all get a better price. Turned out he was right, too.
Only he's the man managing our crop wouldn't listen to him. Sold early. At 7 cents. Right after its price jumped to 11.
Boy, oh boy, was Pa sore. We left town soon after that.
Yeah, but it seems like we just jumped from the frying pan right into the fire. Moved to a nearby spread owned by old man Harper. It was a company town, and Harper was the company. Overcharged us for every darn thing at his store. Only place nearby we could buy victuals.
Still, for the next few years, your pa worked hard and he kept us warm and fed.
He did. He did. The straw that broke the camel's back, though, as they say, was after Pa and I spent the winter cutting firewood for old man Harper. And he refused to pay us.
Man, did Pa hit the ceiling. I remember how he came home long-faced, heavy heart, and asked, "How would you like to go to California?"
Would I? Finally, my dream. After all those years, we sold everything we had.
Sold 2 mules, got $5 a piece for them. Sold a wagon, milk cow, and what little furniture we had, and we got $35 for everything.
That's right, all we had was $35. And a dream.
And I was bound and determined to do this.
People said we was crazy. Hitchhiking out of town with 5 kids, and the youngest just 5.
Well, everyone thought we was crazy anyhow, so there wasn't no difference. And off we went.
Yeah, and after a while we caught some rides and got ourselves to Birmingham looking for Uncle Roof and his wife Florence.
The kids used to call him Uncle Roof and Aunt Flor. Get it?
Yeah, and I thought I was the one that got the corner on corny jokes.
When they first saw us, they hardly recognized us. People called us bindlesticks, like them hobos who carried their sack of belongings on a stick over their shoulder. We were a family living on the road, raggedy and hungry.
Shoot. Sometimes while we were traveling, we would ask if folks could spare any food for the younger children.
We've been through a lot, with a lot more ahead of us. That's why I'm so hard on y'all sometimes. I'm hard because life forced me to be hard.
Oh, we don't mind none.
Of course, hitchhiking, especially with a bunch as big as ours, wasn't easy.
Sure was slow going until we met that young couple with a baby who took us so kindly to us. They told us about riding the rails, explained how the boxcars worked.
Though the rail yard bulls were a mean bunch, the brakemen always helped us along.
That's right. Some nights they would let us warm ourselves by their fires, and other times hiding us from the guards until we got safety on the train.
Those hard times sure brought the family together, though.
The sunshine song from Lonesome Valley, and all alone I must remain.
Traveling wasn't easy, of course, and sometimes it was downright dangerous. We had lots of adventures those days, trying to pan gold in the Sierra Nevada. Something Mama learned about in all those books she read about California. After 2 weeks, we'd made 87 cents. Then finally we hit on something better, picking. We became what they called fruit tramps, traveling up and down California's Central Valley. Oh man, we went to Salinas, east to Arizona. Sure, life was hard, but as we always said, at least it was better than Alabama, where all we was eating was potatoes and cornbread. We settled down, family working at a place outside Modesto, and I got to attend school more regularly. When we could, us kids would sneak away, collect empty bottles that we returned for the deposit, and use that money to see the movies. Fred even worked as a newspaper boy for the Modesto Bee. Them days, there were hundreds of camps for workers all over. And crazy as it sounds, that's where we got our start in music.
Lights up on Fred, Don, Cal, younger Rose and Lula, working on a Central Valley farm, picking vegetables. A weary-looking family group, hot, sweaty, tired. Suddenly, Fred stops moving and looks up at the sky dreamily. The others continue for a moment, then realize he's stopped working.
Hey, Fred, you okay?
Sun getting to you, brother.
Need some water?
Now, Fred, what on earth are you doing?
Oh, I'm thinking.
Well, if you're thinking, what are you doing standing there staring at the sky? There is work to be done.
Yeah, Fred, what are you doing?
I'm a thinking.
I'm thinking.
Everybody stop and look at Fred. He's a thinking.
What are you a-thinking, Fred?
Well, when I'm out here in this field, all I can do is think. Boy, if I wasn't here, what could I be doing?
I know what that's like.
Dreaming again.
And what do you think you would be a-doing?
I'm a thinking we should go in the music business.
What?
What's that you say?
The music business?
That's right, the music business.
The music business. Well, I'll be. That's my boy. Always a thinking.
Well, I woke up this morning, I looked out doors. I can tell my milk cow, I can tell by the way she looks. If you see.
We'd always been a musical family, and my oldest brother, Cliff, and our cousin Kurt had started singing around, even ended up on Modesto's KTRB radio. Ever since I was a tyke, I tried to sing. We listened to the radio when we could. Powerful stations like XERB just south of the Mexican border. They broadcast all the greats. The Carter family, Patsy Montana, Jimmy Rogers, and my favorite, Roy Rogers and the Sons of the Pioneers. I even took to yodeling along. I'd sing so loud, Moma'd yell at me, "Get out of here, Rose, I'm tired of listening to you. Go sing to your daddy for a while." And I would. All that time, Fred was thinking about the music business. And in time, he formed the family into a band called the Alabama Outlaws. It was the beginning of something for us.
I sure hope Fred knows what he's a-doing.
He has the gift of gab. Old Fred can talk anybody into anything.
That's true. He's talked us into one gig after another. Rodeos and honky-tonks. We played on the radio in Merced, Stockton, and Turlock.
Sure, but since the advertisers pay the way they do these days, Fred knows who needs to get us a sponsor.
That's why he's been out there, up one street and down the next, trying to scare up somebody to sponsor our radio show on KTRB.
Woo-hoo-wee! Have I got some news for you?
What happened?
What didn't happen, let me tell you.
Well, tell us, boy, tell us.
Well, I've been wearing out my dogs, pacing along every street in Modesto, just wasting shoe leather, a-walking and a-walking. So today, when I was almost about to give up, thank goodness I didn't, I passed Rice's furniture store.
That big one on 10th Street?
That's right. Well, I was plumb tired, but I figured I'd give it one last try. So I strolled on in and asked to meet with the owner.
You did?
I sure did.
Was he nice?
More than more like nice and quiet.
Gosh.
Well, yes, sir. I walked myself right in there, took off my hat and held it in my hand, standing tall, and asked to see Mr. Rice. He met me in his office, and I said, "Mr. Rice, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to see me."
That's my boy, right and polite, just like I always taught you.
And you won't believe what happened.
Well, what happened?
Lights up on furniture store, stage left. The owner, Mr. Rice, sits behind a desk, busy with paperwork.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rice. Mighty fine store you got here. Yes, sirree. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times walking past it, admiring all the fine furniture in your windows. I've said, well, woo, Mr. Rice sure do have himself a nice fine store. Sort of the strong and silent type, eh? Well, I'll do the talking then. As you may know, my family and I have got us a little hillbilly band that we're mighty proud of, and we've been playing on barn dances and radio stations up and down the valley. And now I know you got this mighty fine store here full of all this beautiful furniture. One way to get folks' attention and to have them in here buying all this beautiful furniture is by sponsoring a radio show. I see you're not interested. Well, okay, if that's the way you feel about it, I understand. You're a busy man. I'll just be showing myself out. Sorry to bother you, and thank you for your time.
I'll tell you what.
Welcome back to the world there. The world of living there, Mr. Rice.
I'll put you on the radio.
When do we start?
Not so fast. You've got to have a girl singer. Have you got a girl singer?
Have we got a girl singer? We've got one heck of a girl singer.
Well, then you got yourself a radio show.
Oh, you won't regret it, sir. Mr. Rice, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship.
That's how we started. We called ourselves Maddox Brothers and Rose, playing on KTRB from 6:30 to 7:30 weekday mornings. And after our first week, we received more than 1,000 fan letters. Our gig at KTRB didn't pay anything, of course, but it made folks familiar with our music. In those days, most bands made their money playing the rodeo circuit. We'd ride into town. Mom would make arrangements with one of the taverns. They'd love to have us. Free entertainment for them, tips for us. Once that was settled, we'd park outside town, try to rest up for the night's show. We played some rowdy cowboys, all right. Lots of those boys had been drinking all day, but once we started to play, they really got into the show. What with me singing, Fred joking around, the whole band playing along, it was a good time to be sure. All right. We all had ideas about what a hillbilly band ought to be. Fred had seen somebody wearing some pretty fancy Western clothes. His mama took us out and had them dress us up real fine. Then one day, some woman who liked our music asked if we'd heard of this contest at the state fair for the best hillbilly band in California. Big prizes too, shows, a record contract. Well, we entered that contest, and boy, after that, things really did change around here.
Thank you. Let's have a warm round of applause for these fine musicians. As you know, we've been spending all day celebrating the 100th anniversary of the founding of our beautiful Golden State. In honor of this special occasion, we're holding this contest to see which of the many talented musicians we've got gathered here today will earn the honor of being named the best hillbilly band in all of California. Now, we've been listening to lots of fine music, and right now I'm happy to introduce another contender, the Maddox Brothers and Rose.
Well, I don't have to tell you what happened next. We won.
I met a gal from old Kentucky. She was happy and go lucky.
We played around honky-tonks, roadhouses, rodeos, but our lives, like everyone's, changed with the Second World War. My brothers joined the service, and I got married to E.B. Hale. I was only 16 and against it, but Mama pushed and pushed, and finally we were hitched. It was her way of keeping me in the fold and under her wing, marrying me to somebody she could control. I'd never been with a boy in my life. Ooh, I didn't even know what you did to make babies. I thought you could have babies from kissing. Mama sat me down and told me these things, and I almost died. I could not believe stuff like that went on. Oh, I was ready to back out, but Mama said, no, you were going to marry him. Our marriage, if you want to call it that, went downhill from there. When I told him I was pregnant about a year later, he denied the baby was his. He said it belonged to the man next door. Night Donnie was born, it wasn't even there. He was out drinking. Mama called him, told him I'd had a baby. He said he didn't care. Eventually, we got divorced. But it really messed me up about love, men, marriage. For a long time, I was hurting. Finally, though, the war was over, and the boys was coming home. It was all together again. Most importantly, we had plans. In almost no time at all, we was back on the air.
It's real nice having everyone home, and here it is, December 29th, 1945, and the Maddox brothers and Rose are returning to the studio, back here on KGDM in Stockton.
I made the program out, and Rose will do all the dedications, and, well, Fred will do all the announcing.
What about doing a quick run-through of the songs?
We don't rehearse. Never do.
Well, one thing I'm glad of, that we settled on Wiley and Jean's I Want to Live and Love as our theme song. Ready, Fred?
I'm ready. Yes, sir, and howdy, folks. How y'all this afternoon? Give us a great big smile, won't you? Thanks a million, folks. This is the Maddox brother and Rose, and we'll be with you for a while this afternoon, and we hope you'll like it.
What key is it in, Rose?
The key of F. The key of love.
Come in, boys. Oh, yes. Yes, sir, folks. The gang's all here this afternoon, and we're looking real good. There's Henry. We calls him Friendly Henry, the working girl's friend, and Rose is looking real sweet.
Thank you, Fred.
Well, Rose, you're sure looking mighty purty with your ruby red lips and your big buck teeth. I mean, your white teeth are shining.
I want to live and love under the stars above. I want to hold you close to my heart. You gave me hopes and you when I was sad and blue. And nothing's gonna keep us apart.
We was changing our music along with our stage get-ups. Fred was using a lot of what people nowadays call slap bass. They beat out the rhythm of the tune while the rest of the band played along. We also got a reputation for what they called hillbilly boogie, where we play like this. Ready? And I'll tell you, once we started playing with a beat like that, ain't nobody could stop tapping their feet and stay off that dance floor. And we sure saw a lot of folks dancing to our tunes. I gotta say, we were playing 15 shows a week.
Well, I'm happy to have us all playing together again, but I'm a little PO'd about Cliff's attitude towards the music.
I know what you mean. Now that we've come back from overseas, Big Brother Cliff thinks we should keep the old beat.
The old hillbilly beat, we calls it.
Cliff's just older and set in his ways.
Oh, he thinks he should do what he says, because he's the oldest and the most experienced.
But there's something different, something new happening with our music.
In the Army, I got exposed to all kinds of people and all kinds of music.
Me too.
You know, I was a mess sergeant stationed in the Pacific. I organized a hillbilly band called the Khaki Mountaineers. Somehow, I don't rather know how, I lugged my big old bass fiddle from atoll to atoll. Must have been the love of music.
Or the love of showing off.
Well, that too, I guess. That slap bass style of mine got better and better, likely thanks to the guys I was playing with.
By the time we got back home in early 1946, we was working regular again on radio shows and on the road. And people wanted something different.
You know what I say, we've got to have something that folks can dance to.
Yeah, and it's got to have that beat.
And if we get it and stick to it, the people just won't be able to stand still. They'll have to dance to it.
I'll tell you about mine. I don't care if you will lend an ear. I stepped into a cabaret to get myself.
We're playing dances, but people just can't hear us. We just got one little old amplifier.
You know, Bob Wills has electrified it. Sounds like this.
Where's that gal with the red dress on? Some folks call it Dinah, stole my heart away.
You know, why don't we start doing ours that way?
Get pickups for all the guitars and fiddle and mandolins. Gotta buy amplifiers, of course.
It'll be electrifying.
It'll make us feel it more, because we'll be able to really hear it and feel what we're doing then, and the people will be able to feel it a lot more, see?
Yeah, and there'll come a time when they'll be known as the loudest band in the country.
The louder you get and the more power you put behind it, it puts it in the people's feet and in their bodies. See?
The show will still be what it's all about.
And the folks in the crowd giving all that energy back.
You see, we're gonna move beyond our hillbilly string band music and do more rhythm and blues.
We've been serving up music that combines country and R&B for 10 years. We call it country boogie.
Well, our new music is going to be harder, more driving.
Fred's slap bass will sound much more forceful.
Cal's driving rhythm guitar and harmonica, it's going to be right up front.
Looking back on it now, we've been a-doing the hillbilly thing for some time. We was always about 10 or 12 years ahead of ourselves. It was just a-happening then, and it's just a-happening now.
I don't
Let's
know.
just let it happen.
I don't know if we started it. It just fell in. Just came into the world.
A lot of them early rockers had watched Fred slap that bass, had admired Cal and Henry's guitar work. Guess it influenced them all in some kind of way.
Now, Zeke Turner sure was. He played guitar all but one of Hank Williams' sessions. He developed a rhythm technique known as dead string.
When he was playing rhythm, he'd whop the strings with the ball of his hand. Then he'd muffle the strings like that, and it made a sound that sounded like drums.
Making that drum sound was good, because Nashville didn't want no drums in Music City.
So all those studio guys used that technique in Nashville for years.
And old Zeke said he heard us doing it first.
Then there's Henry playing mandolin. We calls him Friendly Henry.
Here's the youngin' now.
Howdy, y'all.
Not so young that he can't take that mandolin of his and start singing, though.
Not only sing, but sway.
Well, Friendly Henry took dead string one step further by muffling all the strings on his mandolin.
Like this. Instead of whomping, I fingers them. It gets me very distinctive staccato effect. Sort of that dry clicking sound you get from minstrel bones. Kind of similar to that sound Don gets out of his bass git fiddle.
Those hot styles plus Fred's slap bass and Cal's guitar make a sound that's all ours. Real distinctive. I think we's onto something, but we don't know what.
And they's calling it rock and roll.
Yeah, shaking things up in country music.
The country folks can't handle it. What with the sexiness and the influence of black music, we love it.
Elvis, Buddy Holly, Bill Haley, and Carl Perkins, even Jerry Lee Lewis and Johnny Cash have been all muddied up the water between country, pop, and rhythm and blues.
It kind of sets up a war between us out here in California and them good old boys in Tennessee. A war ain't nobody's gonna win.
Let's step it up and go.
Grand Ole Opry had been on WSM radio since 1925. They preferred string band music and corn-tone comics. Roy Acuff and Uncle Dave Mason supplied the music. Roy Brassfield and Minnie Pearl the laughs. Mr. Smooth Red Foley, he was the MC. Prince Albert Tobacco sponsored the show. It was broadcast all over the land on NBC. The Opry wasn't ready for the changes in country music that came up after that war. They weren't ready for us.
Well, we're always kind of on our best behavior whenever we hear have folks coming to visit with us for the first time here on Prince Albert's Grand Ole Opry. And tonight we're each and every one of us in our best bib and tucker because we got some wonderful entertainers all the way from Modesto, California.
Yes. Woo!
They bring so much of them out there in California that the local radio station is carrying our radio program tonight. Folks, give a great big Prince Albert hello to one of the most popular recording and radio groups in the country, the Maddox Brothers and Rose. you're the prettiest one of the bunch. Well, you tell us what you and the boys have cooked up for your first VA appearance here.
Well, we're gonna do what everybody's asking for, Ed, and flowers for the master's bouquet.
Yes, sir. Pretty.
Now, the Opry may not have liked honky-tonk or drums in their music, but they couldn't ignore success. Gathering Flowers for the Master's Bouquet had charted during Christmas 1948 and made us one of the top hillbilly bands in the country. The Opry couldn't pass us by no more. I found out later that anybody that was on the Opry had to be from Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, or they weren't hillbilly. We was from Alabama, but because we lived so long in California, they held that against us. Anyway, they booked us to do a show and sing Flowers for the Master's Bouquet. It was February 26, 1949. When we got there, we got into hot water right away. Jack Stapp, who ran the show, wanted to do all the talking on stage with Red Foley, likely because I was a girl and kind of cute. Well, Fred didn't like that much. That was just the tip of the iceberg of a battle that had been a brewing between California and Tennessee. In those days, the Golden State's music was a match in Nashville in popularity, record sales, and influence. Gene Autry and Tex Ritter were as big as a Roy Acuff or Ernest Tubb, but they didn't like that much. Most of the musicians at the Opry were snobbish towards us. Bill Monroe wasn't, and Ernest Tubb wasn't. Besides, we had no interest in competing with Nashville. It was enough that we'd been baptized at the Mother Church. The rest was gravy.
1949, yep. It was a bad year for the Maddoxes.
Mama and Pa'd been having marital problems for a while.
Mama was tough to live with.
They finally got divorced in 49.
What a blessing.
Mama made us take sides. Since we was with her, we was on her side. Stayed that way up till he died. He was the only one that got away. Finally, we signed up with Uncle Art Satherley in Columbia.
We'd been with 4-Star Records from the get-go.
While we was there, we had hits with Whoa Sailor and Honky Tonkin', old Hank's tune,
They's the ones started calling us the most colorful hillbilly band in America.
and started calling me the sweetheart of hillbilly swing.
You'd have been a good home, but Bill McCall had been cheating us for years.
I liked him because I could control him.
Besides, Satherley had signed the Big Three on Columbia: Bob Wills, Roy Acuff, and Gene Autry.
We'll be in high cotton with them folks.
Still, those folks at Columbia thought the band was just backup to you.
They didn't want us like we was. We were a live group, even on records. Singing, hollering, and cutting up. The people would go just wild over it.
We had to use a house band Columbia had. They didn't use us at all, and I didn't go for that. Columbia just didn't understand us. When they take away from you what you got, you just don't want to do nothing.
Old A.V. Bamford says he can get us on KWKH's Louisiana Hayride, where Hank and Elvis appeared.
It was more or less like the Grand Ole Opry, located in Shreveport, just across the Texas state line. They called it the Cradle of the Stars.
Bamford's a real small, skinny little guy.
He's a scalawag.
I can get y'all on the KWKH Louisiana Hayride,
That's peachy.
but you're gonna have to come back to Louisiana with me to talk it over.
I don't know about that.
Plus, I'm thinking you might want to move in with me.
Is that one of the reasons you got us the job?
Me and my wife have split.
Sorry to hear that,
Well,
Eddie.
I'm not. It's for the best. So, I've decided I have to have a woman. And I picked you.
Ain't I the lucky one?
When I heard about that, I blew my stack.
I told him no.
Me and my little girl made short work of that.
Old A.V. went to Nashville and found him somebody else.
And that was that.
We still got the show.
We'd go back to Shreveport and stay there for 4 months when we was doing the show.
Them shows made us better known to country music folk down south.
We was on the Hayride, Hometown Jamboree, and Town Hall Party.
We had transcribed recordings on KTRB, live from Riverside Rancho and Ming's 97th Street Corral, and daily shows on KWKH.
He was on jukeboxes and on radio or TV most every time he turned around.
In those days, the cat and mouse routine between you and Mama was crazy.
He was always sneaking out to have a good time.
Mama has dug me out of bed in the middle of the night before, more than one time hunting Fred. She didn't drive, so I had to go with her.
Mama always found him, too.
You and me was the black sheep in the family.
Because I kept my eye on her, you got away with all kinds of devilment.
Mama never allowed me to enjoy the company of men, just for big brothers.
You had plenty of hound dogs sniffing around. Somebody had to watch out for you.
But I never got a chance.
I did what I thought was best.
Maybe it was best for you and the band, but not best for me.
Jack McFadden once said, "Oh man, she had a body that would break your heart."
Shame on you.
Get out of my way, you pack your day cards, you're just not my kind. I like to play, but not your way, you can't hand me that line. If you go too far, you're gonna see stars, just stop and look around. I got to go a bit further, don't you go any further, you pick a step off the ground.
We could see the writing on the wall. The dance halls and nightclubs were closing. The ones that stayed open were using a house band. They didn't want groups. They wanted singles. They were willing to pay for a show like ours.
I started getting offers to do my own act. I always felt I was a better singer than my brothers was performers. I didn't feel their musicianship was good enough to support where I could go and what I could do. We ended up squabbling on stage. Some of it was sibling rivalry, some was jealousy. Whatever it was and whatever we said, music and career kept us together. I could get as much money by myself as the whole group was getting. Columbia offered me a solo contract in 1953. More pop than country. Stretch a bit. We all agreed maybe it was time to end the family act, and we did. Cal stayed on with me as my accompanist.
And Mama, knowing where the money was at, went with you.
You boys brought in Loretta, Henry's wife. She could sing, and she looked good up there. She learned some things from me when we did our duo at that flamingo thing.
I started to refer to us on air as the Maddox brothers and her, just to piss her off.
You never forgave me.
I didn't.
But it was the best thing for me.
We was traveling a lot in those days. Seems like it was nothing but dance halls, Cadillacs, and highways.
I was 28. I was getting some notice. Got me 2 contracts with one of the biggest record companies in America. But I got no personal life.
Thanks to Mama and circumstance.
Around this time, I was doing more smooth love songs.
But you never gave up on being that high-powered honky-tonk angel people knew you for, and we all loved you for.
One of my best from that time was Wild, Wild Young Man. Ruth Brown done it first. It was steamy. Got people all worked up.
That was 1953, a year before Elvis broke. The Queen set the stage for the King.
Wild, wild young men like to have good time. Wild, wild young men like to have good time. Wild, wild boyfriends like to lose their mind.
Funny how things come around. Come 1956, I did get a second chance to change their minds. Tall Man was riding high on the jukeboxes, so the Opry came a-calling again. Back then, the cast was pretty impressive. Roy Acuff, Chet Atkins, Johnny Cash, Bill Monroe, Marty Robbins, Hank Snow, Ernest Tubb, and Kitty Wales. That was some serious talent. We returned to the Raymond on September 29th, 1956. The dressing room hadn't changed, but they had. Nobody forgot that night.
I had a costume made just for that show. A short blue satin skirt cut to here, a bare midriff with long sleeves and the silver fringe, boots, neck kerchief, and a cowboy hat.
The place done come apart.
Jack Strapp and the Opry, bosses like that became unglued.
Audience ate it up.
Minnie Pearl told me the bosses jumped on her, wanting to know why she let me go out like that. Minnie says she had nothing to do with it, but sure wouldn't have stopped me.
And guess what? Instead of slamming the door in our face, they welcomed us back with open arms.
I became a regular later that month.
And in October, we all moved to Nashville.
Didn't last long.
I got in a tiff with Roy Acuff over my appearance on some local TV shows.
I hate to tell you this, Rose, but I'm gonna have to take you off the TV shows.
Why?
Well, the acts we're doing on the road, they're all complaining about you being on TV so regular.
Well, they aren't here. They're out on the road. And you're supposed to have me out there working all week long.
I know I'm supposed to, but it hasn't worked out, and now, with all the complaints, I'm gonna have to take you off the TV shows.
Who's complaining?
Roy Acuff is the main one.
You're kidding me.
No. Acuff told me, either you take her off the TV shows or I'll leave.
That's all right, Jack. The grass is greener out west. I'm going home. I went home and told Mama and Cal.
We called Steelers Roebucks to come and get the furniture.
We left Dixieland in our rear view.
No regrets.
No tears goodbye.
I was mad about the whole situation, but it was a relief to get back to California where people knew me, understood me. I was doing a lot of new things on Columbia. I was one of the first to ever use strings on my records, using these violas with a bow and all that. I started doing more rockabilly singles, although I'd already been doing them for a long time prior to the band's breakup. California had always been our base, our home. We did most all our recording there. Some folks have said if we hadn't been so much a part of the West Coast country scene, we might have done better in an industry run by Nashville. Fact is, even if we had given up California, I doubt they'd have let us do our music the way we wanted to.
Now, a lot of people, they see me as some kind of big, famous music performer and celebrity and such. I guess I kind of am at that. I grew up in a close family, but sometimes there was too much togetherness, leaving me no space to figure out who I was, what I wanted. Got married so young, I had trouble thinking about me, not as a daughter or a sister or mother. It was hard to figure out what I wanted. I mean, oh sure, I wanted to sing and all that. But what about all the other things that would make me happy, satisfied, content, whatever? Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining, but I never had any time or space to develop on my own. To just be Rose. Not the Maddox brothers and Rose, not Mama's daughter Rose, just Rose. My brothers, they went their own ways, sometimes raising hell, and a lot of times getting away with it. I couldn't do that. Mama always had her eye on me, even refused to let me have any girlfriends. Everything about my life was the music and the show and the family, and that is good, don't get me wrong. I was really empty on the inside. Now, the music helped me, of course. In some ways, music connected me with my wish to know more about the world around me. That hard little kernel of loneliness and sorrow formed in the pit of my stomach every time I was alone. Don't think it was all darkness and night, no siree. I had me some good times too. But on stage, I could turn all that into music. The problem, of course, is that there were lots of times when I wasn't singing, when I wasn't on stage. Those times, they were the hardest.
I wish I was a kiss tree, a growing in the ground, and every time I sweep passed by, I'd throw some kisses down.
Well, thank God we stopped. I'm getting real tired of the three of us burning up and down every highway in California from one show to the next. A pit stop here in Oceanside, and then it's on to San Diego.
I'm glad we ended up in here. I remembered hearing about this joint using a lot of guest artists. Worth trying to see if there isn't any work to be had.
Oh, you're always thinking about work, sister. Me, I'm just happy to rest my dogs and have a cold beer.
Of course I'm thinking of work. My solo career is starting to take off again after a slow stretch. Mama's still going with us, And that and some of the other things has got me to thinking it's time I cut myself loose.
Oh, she'll fight you tooth and nail on that.
Don't I know it? Still, all I can think about these days is looking for a way to get out from under it.
She'll say you'll break up our act and destroy all of her hard work.
Her hard work?
I'm just saying, she's the boss. You're just supposed to do what she says and never even think of doing anything differently.
I believe I finally got my chance. Now that we've finished work on the Precious Memories LP for Columbia, might be time to make a move.
Oh, she don't mean no harm. It's just her way is all. You're still Mama, the little girl. She's a living her life through you.
I want to have friends, but she won't allow it. I have 2 girlfriends in Southern California, but I have to sneak around to see them. I've never been on a date. I ain't even allowed to open my own mail or answer telephone calls.
Now you're getting bitter.
Can you blame me? All I got is my songs and the performances. Well, will you look at that?
Hello, folks. I'm Jimmy Brogan. I own this place. Nothing fancy. We're just a small Marine Corps company town.
Hello, I'm Rose Maddox.
Well, I know who you are. You and your brothers were the most colorful hillbilly band in America. Used to see you all the time.
Appreciate the kind words. Think you can find a place for us?
Of course. I'll book you in for Friday and Saturday nights.
And he did.
We have people lining up the streets to get in night after night.
Lula treated me like she treated everybody else. You had to get to know Mama. You could see why they called her Mama, even when fully grown, and why she liked it that way. She was going to keep that family as close together as she could. That was her nature, whatever her reasons were. I looked at it as a kind of a quirk, like an old mother hen that just will not give up.
Columbia let me go in '58 when my contract expired. That was tough.
It's the first time we didn't have a label.
In January of '59, with a little help from Cliffy Stone, you inked a 5-year pact with Capitol.
Ken Nelson was the head of Capitol's country division then.
I'm so excited to be working together, Mr. Nelson. You've produced some of the best music in country's history with artists like Buck Owens, Jerry Reed, and Merle Haggard.
No doubt some fine acts. But I'm also a fan of rock and roll, and I'm pretty sure it's no flash in the pan.
I like your attitude.
Well, I believe that when I take on an artist, I feel responsible for them. I know that artist's whole life might depend on what I arrange for them. That's why I never believe in selling the record. I believe in selling the artist.
That's all well and good, but I've got to get a good handle on this here recording session.
This
here's the song list I want, and this here's a list of the musicians we'll hire.
Now, hold on here, Mrs. Maddox.
Then when we're done, we'll listen to the recordings, and I'll let you know which ones we can use, and that's how it's gonna be.
You're wrong.
How's that?
That's not how it's going to be.
But I've always done.
Well, those times have been gone. Have been and gone. I'm the boss here now.
I ain't gonna stand for that. You can't treat me that way.
I'm sorry you feel that way, ma'am. Maybe it's best if you just don't come into the studio anymore.
I've never been face down like that, and in front of the whole family, no less.
I was shocked, but I loved it. It meant it could be done. I could do it. I was bound and determined to do this.
Those were the same words Mama said when we left Alabama. Now it was her turn.
By now, the Brothers Post-Rose Band had run its course. It was up to me to carry on the dream.
Success in music and love seemed to be within reach, and the 2 things you'd always wanted and worked hard for.
One night, me and Cal was appearing in San Bernardino.
Can I come over and take you out to dinner?
Sure!
I found out. You ain't going nowhere, girl. I ain't gonna let that happen.
There was no way I could contact you.
You ain't gonna have dinner with him. If you do, I'm going.
When we returned to the hotel,
I was waiting.
I'm scared to death, Jimmy. I can't go out with you without Mama.
That's all right.
So we went to dinner right there in the hotel. Me and you and Mom.
I forbid you to ever see him again.
That was the end of that. as far as you were concerned.
But I kept calling you.
You ain't talking to him, not now, not ever.
2 or 3 nights later, we were working in the high desert at Ridgecrest, California, and someone there at the club told me I had a phone call. It was Jimmy.
Well, what are we going to do about this situation?
I don't know, Jimmy. I gotta be honest. I'm not sure I love you. I don't know what that really feels like.
I get it. Love is strange.
You're my means of getting out. I'm going to get out one way or another, whether I love you or not.
It is what it is, and that's enough.
I don't think I'm making a mistake.
You're not. We're not. I'll pick you up after work to go get married.
Now I'm gonna go out there and sing one of the greatest shows of my life. Me and Mama was at the hotel there in Frisco when I told her.
We're gonna leave tonight right after the show.
I'm not.
What do you mean, I'm not?
I'm getting married.
To who?
Jimmy.
That fool, you can't marry him.
He ain't no fool. We care for each other. He asked me, and I'm going to marry him.
Not if I can help it, you're not.
But you can't help it, Mama. Why does marriage always have to be a problem in this family?
Because it interferes with what we're doing. You ain't coming into that room to see Rose.
You trying to run me off, Lula? Well, I'll just wait in the car, if you don't mind.
I don't care a fig what y'all do, son, just as so long as you leave my daughter alone.
She's lonely, Lula.
She's got me and her brothers. She's got family.
Not good enough.
I'm not going back home with you, Mama.
That ain't gonna happen, little girl.
I know you only want what's best for us, but it's gone too far. Every time any of us gets married, it's painful, because it threatens the act. Threatens your control. It should never be that way. We're going to Vegas to get married.
If you walk out that door, I never want to see you again as long as I live.
Well, that's up to you. That was the hardest thing I ever had to go through. That hurt.
We left and went to Vegas.
I screwed up. I meant to tell you we was going to Reno to throw you off the trail because I knew you and Cal would come looking for me. I just knew you was going to show up and make a scene.
Me and Cal went searching for y'all in Reno. I figured that if you said Las Vegas, you were thinking Reno.
You always knew what I was thinking before I could even do it.
But we fooled her.
Spring of '52, Kitty Wells scored a #1 hit with "It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels." It was us women's answer to Hank Thompson's The Wild Side of Life.
She was the first female solo singer in the history to top Billboard country charts. Can you imagine that?
They started calling Miss Kitty the Queen of Country Music. That's what I'd been called up until then. Didn't bother me none. I had opened some doors for the gals coming up.
Some say you kicked the doors in.
Those ladies didn't always appreciate it. Take Patsy Cline. When she played the wheel, her claws was out.
She had a pretty big record out at the time.
Walking After Midnight.
So we booked her at the club.
She was good. Had a real powerful voice. But she wasn't real country. She was more of a pop act.
So in between her sets, you got up there and start clapping and singing "Sally, Let Your Bangs Hang Down," and everyone goes wild.
Come time for me to go on again, and people are yelling, "We want Rose Maddox."
It was a little embarrassing.
For her.
Ain't that the truth? I was sitting at the bar drinking a beer, waiting to go back on.
Everybody was hollering for me to get up there.
So Rose goes up and does a couple of numbers.
A friend of mine was standing back there.
I turned to this old gal next to me and said, if I got up there and looked like she does, why, I'd be as popular as she is.
When my friend told me that, I got mad. I don't get up there and shake. My body keeps time with my singing is all I do.
I won't lie, it was how I felt.
I shared the stage one night with the Carter sisters and Mother Maybelle. That was a big show.
Oh, one of many. We had Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Roger Miller, Buck Owens, and Merle Haggard.
All before they really made it big.
Johnny Cash talked me into booking George Jones. Come showtime, Jones hadn't showed up. I called Johnny. He said, "George is on the way." Sorry to get you out of bed, Rose. The Jones boys just drove up in their station wagon. The good news is they're here. George is dressed in a $1,000 suit fit to kill. The bad news is he's so drunk he can't walk.
You know, I just came off tour. I'm bone tired.
I know, I'm sorry, but I need you to get dressed and go down to entertain those folks to keep them from tearing the place down.
I'm going back and have a little come to Jesus moment with Jones.
I'm sorry, Rose, but I can't sing tonight. I'm 3 sheets into the wind.
You got to go out there, George. It's a full house. You don't want to disappoint everybody. I know you can do it. And you will do it.
I'm a little bit under the weather, as they say.
Your butt'll be a little bit over the rainbow if you don't get out there and sing. We'll have to give them people all their money back.
Oh, but Rose.
You've been drunker than this before, son, so don't disappoint the people.
I won't go no further.
Here, kill yourself. Get drunker in hell. I'm so sick of you.
My story with Jones didn't end there. We caught up years later when I was doing a show at the Cow Palace in Frisco. Headliners were George and Tammy Wynette.
Me and Tammy was riding high, and I don't want to play house. After the show, I saw Rose standing in the wings.
That was the first time I'd seen No-Show Jones since that night at the wheel.
Hey, Rose, it's been a long time.
I'll say. Don't let's talk about last time I saw you.
That's not. I mostly don't remember those days anyway. Still don't.
I can see why.
Tammy, this is Rose Maddox.
Nice to meet you. I like your singing just fine.
She's the greatest gal singer ever.
Excuse me, Possum?
Old Tammy gave me the stink eye.
Probably shouldn't have said that.
That hurt.
Tammy can be that way.
Hell, if it weren't for me, none of them gals would have made it. Her, Kitty, Skeeter, Patsy, Loretta, Dolly, none of them. I broke down the barriers. Least they could have done was thanked me.
Amen, sister.
You had a different experience with a different lady at a different time.
Loretta Lynn.
I come to Los
Loretta.
Angeles from my home in Custer, Washington, to cut my first single at Zero Records. It was called I'm a Honky Tonk Girl.
Rose asked me to book her.
Me and my husband Mooney stopped in one evening and did a few songs.
Nobody knew who she was.
She was young, but good.
I took a liking to Loretta. She was pretty shy.
I was scared to perform in front of you. You was one of my idols. I'd listened to you on the radio since moving west from Kentucky in 1950.
I sat down and called every place I'd ever worked, booked her 2 weeks worth of dates for $50 a night.
I was glad to get it.
It didn't take long for her to reach the top of the heap. Loretta got so big it got to where we couldn't even book her here anymore.
I tell myself I'm satisfied to live the way I do, and it was such a foolish thing to fall.
I was cranking out singles for Capitol. Gambler's Love became my first recording to hit the Billboard national charts. Pure California country.
Became the Okie Boogie, the Beer Can Hill. Bunch down in the Bakersfield loved to death.
I picked a little cotton and a lot of guitar in Bakersfield.
I did a little time over things I'd done in Bakersfield.
Dancing on Beer Can Hill overlooking Bakersfield.
I'd grown up watching you and your brothers at Rainbow Gardens in Bakersfield.
That great guitarist Roy Nichols cut his teeth with us.
And cut it up with me and the Strangers.
When Stewart and me pretty much started it all. My Louisiana Swing was the first recording of what became the Bakersfield sound.
My old friend Gene Shepard, Shepard's A Dear John Letter was the first big country hit single to use nothing but Bakersfield musicians.
You two and all the rest of them rowdies from San Joaquin Valley. You all started charting on a regular basis.
You got Chet Atkins and Owen Bradley to thank for that.
That Nashville sound was just too slick with all them strings and background vocals.
We was influenced by rock and roll, and we liked it loud, and we liked it. We liked that backbeat.
I wanted my music to sound like a freight train.
It was outlaw music.
As I look back, my biggest influences might have been Little Richard and Bob Wills.
Yeah, I appreciate that, son.
Deep within my heart lies a song of old San Antonio.
We all played that music that swung from the hills.
Yes, we did.
We was all on a Louisiana hayride. You a little before us.
Yes, we was. I was on the very first one.
You and the Opry had your differences too.
We sure did. Nashville didn't much like my sound neither. Stuffed shirts. I was all wired up and had drums too. Heresy to them hillbillies. They said I couldn't play there if I had brought my drummer. I refused. They were compromised. 'Cause they had to give the people what they wanted. Opera said my guy could play behind a curtain. Of course, it all fell apart when I set the drums up front and center at the last minute.
An adios Opry.
And they really didn't appreciate me relocating the San Fernando Valley in 43 and Fresno in 45 to play for all them Dust Bowl outcasts.
Like us.
That's about the time I was chasing you all over the state trying to be your girl singer.
Sorry, Rose. You was good, but I didn't want nothing to do with that watchdog mama of yours.
The last time I saw you, I blew my stack.
Yes, you did.
I said, when my brothers get back from the service, we're going to start up again and put you out of business.
And you know something? You damn near did, too.
There comes a time in the life of a gambling man when his heart is bound.
One time in 1956, we was playing the Cotton Club in Lubbock, Texas. The radio station guy who promoted the show said, "We got a band we're trying to get started. Can you help them out?"
So they came out to the club and we let them go on. It was Buddy Holly in the game.
So they got kind of started with us, doing 2 or 3 shows with us. And later on, a lot more up in Nashville.
Buddy wasn't even 20 when we met him in Lubbock.
I was a big fan.
Who wasn't?
Elvis was on the Louisiana hayride with us, and we worked with him a lot. See, we'd used a package deal out of the hayride to work the auditoriums.
The producer would gather up the bands from the show and send us on the road so folks could see their favorite players live.
There was this one time we was all working a benefit for the police department in Beaumont, Texas.
Marty Robbins, Elvis, us, Sonny James, and the Below twins was all on the hill.
It was April, so we was wearing our pink uniforms for Easter.
You folks really do some great music. I love that beat you get.
Thanks, we do our best.
Elvis picks up Fred's pink jacket.
And you sure do dress nice.
Always try to give the people a show. That's something Mama taught us right from the beginning.
Elvis puts on the jacket and poses a little. He looks fabulous.
Well, well, golly, that looks all right.
Yes, yes it does. Gotta get me one of these. That's the truth.
Lula enters, sees Elvis in the jacket.
What do you think you're doing?
Don't he look great, Mama?
You take that off right now.
Yes, ma'am.
But Mama, he's just trying it on. Besides, I really like the way he looks.
Tell him to take off that jacket.
Mama, I'm not gonna do it.
Well, I will.
Mama!
Lula yanks the jacket off Elvis.
One of these days, I'm gonna have me a pink jacket. Yes, I am.
And he sure did. And a pink Cadillac, too.
Rock and roll was real neat to us. When Bill Haley came out, we started doing more of that, because it just fit us.
Rock and roll was topping the charts in 56 and 57. Country was scrambling. Us, well, we were ready for anything.
The times, they are a-changin'.
Don't you mean we got to?
When Elvis first started, we just started doing more rock and roll because that's what the people wanted. But we just more or less kept the same style that we'd always had.
Well, we just kept our sense of humor is all.
We don't believe it. Just listen to. If you don't believe it, just listen to our song, "The Death of Rock and Roll." Well, that was when Elvis was getting red and hot, and I was just doing a takeoff on him, just fooling around and doing it for laughs.
We've been jumping the boogie since before the war. We started along Elvis and Buddy before anyone outside the South ever heard of them. What we did went beyond the slap bass.
It was something that never been heard before.
It changed everything.
I remember it like it was yesterday. The band was doing well, and I was itching to spread my wings. Then motherhood came in knocking. Only problem was I was never home. I was usually on the road. Mama loved it because that meant more money. Like any parent who's raised kids during the Depression, she never could forget where we come from. Make a dollar while you can, because you never know what tomorrow might bring. I was on the road all the time because I loved the music, but I felt sorry for my own baby boy, Donnie. It was real tough on him as he got older. Away at school most of the time, I'd tell him it was because the caddy or roadhouse or radio station or dance hall was mostly our home, and that's no place for a kid. At the time, I figured he was better off where he was.
I don't know what gets into you sometimes. I try to be a good mother.
Well, sure you do. That's why I spent my 10th birthday in that Arizona camp you sent me to for the summer. I never see you.
Of course I feel bad about it, but what can I do?
Same story at school. I can never go home for the holidays like the other kids. I have to stay put. That really pisses me off.
Well, we're still close, the way I see it. It's just me and you. That's all there is.
But our relationship is built on phone calls, postcards, letters, and short visits.
I want to be a mother to you, Donnie, but I want to have a career too. Mama's on me more about the one than the other, so when we all bought land in Ashland, I figured you'd be happier living up here.
It's better, I guess. I like Oregon, and school's fine. It's the first public school I've ever been to.
I figure the family can keep an eye on you while I'm on the road.
Which is pretty much all the time.
Later in life, I realized that was tough on him, being alone or too far from home. For some people, emotions, all that grief, loss is amped up. That's why so many go for the Remmit and the Remington. It was 1960, and I was setting into my life. I finally made the break from Mama, that I should have made a long time ago. We didn't see Mama there for a stretch, and Donnie was up in Oregon with the family. He was raising hell and acting out, going wild. Finally, Mama didn't want him around no more, so she called and said, "Rose, come get your son. I don't want him around here anymore." So Donnie moved in with me and Jimmy down at Oceanside, and it did not go well. He never called me Mom or Mama or Mother, just plain old Rose. It was the first time I'd had to do what Mama had done, and I began to appreciate what she'd done all those years, juggling career and family. Donnie becoming more and more of a problem until things really came to a head.
Now see what you've done? It's the cops.
I ain't going back there.
You're spoiled rotten, boy.
I thought bringing you down from Oregon and putting you in school here in Oceanside would make things right.
Hasn't turned out that way, has it?
It takes more than nice clothes to make things right.
Taking the car, spending money, stealing stuff. Rose gives you money hand over fist and you still want more. You're getting to be a real problem.
That's between me and her.
You're just a teenage punk.
I haven't been a good mom, I admit it. But, Donnie, it's always just been you and me and you, my whole world.
Then you went and you got married.
He's a good man if you give him half a chance.
I didn't try to be a father. I tried to be a friend.
I didn't need a father. Not now, anyway, and I sure don't need a friend.
Son, with the cops waiting for you just outside that door, I think you need a friend now more than you ever.
What I don't understand is that you really don't have any ambition to do or make anything of yourself. All the things a mother wants and expects her kid to do.
Well, I ain't gonna do any of them things.
So you're gonna keep breaking the law?
As much as I love you, Donnie, this is the wrong time to cross me. When you started skipping school while I was on the road, I told you, either go back to school or you're going into the service.
I didn't.
You chose the service.
I didn't think you'd do it.
Well, I did. You got it, I said. I signed you up for the Navy. It all got started wrong and was left to go so much more wrong, but I had to take a stand.
It hurt.
Like standing up to Mama hurt.
Then you go AWOL almost immediately.
You head out below our place here in Oceanside.
You better come out, son, if you know what's good for you.
So here we are. The police outside our door telling us to turn the boy in so he'll go to prison.
We got no choice.
But Rose.
6 months in the stockade.
It's real painful, but it's for your own good.
Drifting too far from the shore, you're drifting too far.
Capitol released my first LP, The One Rose, in January 1960. You and Brother Henry sat in. Sort of felt like the old days. I'd gotten to know John Cash at the Opry and while appearing on Hometown Jamboree. I joined his show in Kansas City on New Year's Day, 1961. Buck Owens and the Buckaroos joined up later. We averaged 24 shows a month. I usually had the Tennessee Three and Gordon Terry backing me. Things was going well.
It was the first time ever I was never with you. I was back at home in Oregon taking care of Mama.
Cash's booking agent was a hillbilly warhorse named Hap Peebles. I guess my shows set him on fire. The guy was on my tail the whole tour. It absolutely scared the living daylights out of me because I knew a lot of girls in the business. Most of them who wanted to get to the top did these kinds of things. I was raised in the protection of my family with 4 big brothers to look after me. But Cal wasn't with me. I had gone out alone. I thought, God, what have I gotten myself into? I kept out of the guy's way as the tour rolled on.
That was one of the greatest shows I have ever seen in my entire life.
Well, thanks, Mr. Peebles.
Why did you marry Jimmy Brogan?
Because I love him.
You don't know what the word love means. And I'm going to teach you.
I don't like you talking like that.
We got to do some radio promotion for the next show, and I want you to go with me.
Why?
Because they want to meet the star.
I'm not sure.
What are you afraid of? Maybe I'll show you a bit of the world. Is that it?
I ain't afraid of nothing. Mama always told me I could take care of myself.
There you go again, then.
If and I go,
I
how's it gonna work?
figured we'd get us a hotel room.
I don't know as I like that. We better get 2 rooms on opposite ends of the hotel.
How about this? I'll get us a suite. That way, if you're afraid, you could lock yourself inside of one of the bathrooms.
I ain't afraid, but I ain't happy neither.
You can't avoid me, Rose. I'm booking the whole tour.
Hey, Rose, why are you off by yourself all the time?
I'm just trying to stay out of this guy's way.
Is Hap bothering you, Rose?
He is, John.
I'll take care of that.
And he did. Well, that experience taught me a lot about a single gal's position in country music. I needed a hit. Around then, I cut a couple of duets with Buck Owens of his song, Blues Talk, reached number 4, and Mental Cruelty hit number 8 on the Billboard. Not long after that, a Big Bouquet of Roses album came out. That was July 1961.
I was beginning to get some songs on the charts. I knew Rose had what I needed. So I went into Capitol Studios in L.A. and cut my song Mental Cruelty and Freddie Hart's Loose Talk.
They both charted. It felt good. I'd wanted to do a gospel album for some time. Capitol went along.
We were organizing a package show of our own to tour the Pacific Northwest.
The Maddox brothers and Rose would be the headliners. Cal, Fred, and even Dawn would join us.
We went up to Washington and Oregon to book some shows.
We decided to spend the night with Mama. Her health had gotten pretty bad. She was forgetting things all the time.
As soon as we got there, Lula and me got into it.
Really got into it. I had tore her world apart. I felt guilty about it, but I had made my decision. I figured life had to go on.
Well, life did go on. Rose had shows throughout the summer of '61. Squeezed in a session in L.A. with some good players.
It was a rough time for me, too. Me and my wife, Vivian, were having problems. Too much time on the road, too many pills, too many women were taking their toll.
It was hurting the tour, too. We kept having to reschedule because Cash kept flying home to L.A. to try and fix things.
It was also messing up Rose's solo shows, too, because they kept conflicting with the rescheduled shows.
Me and you had a good time together.
We were always doing crazy stuff, goofing around.
I guess you kind of liked me.
I did indeed.
On the last stop of the tour in Portland, I figured it was time to settle what was really going on. I called you and asked, "What do you want of me, John?"
And I said, "I want you completely, or not at all."
I said, "I'm married, and you know that, and you can't have me. I have never cheated on Jimmy, and I have no intention of cheating on him." I quit the show in December of '61.
That's when I hired June Carter.
You all know what happened then.
Don't let me do that again. Now I'm driving home slowly. My spirits are low.
Our music always came from the heart and from the heartland.
Music born out of one of the dark times of American history. The Depression and the Dust Bowl blew thousands out of Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas, and out of the valleys to California.
Including us.
They called us Okies. Back then, that was a word meant to hurt.
Music made it easier.
You was bound to hear the old-timey music of where we come from, what they called the white man's blues or hillbilly music.
It came down to us from Jimmy Rogers, Lefty Frizzle, and Bob Wills.
I remember Woody Guthrie saying, "It cleared up your head." That's what it done, cleared up your head. Because you're going to fall back and let your draggy bones rest, and your muscles go limber, and you just relax.
He spent some time in them camps.
He played some of the same bars as him and his brother Jack.
Ferlin Husky once said, "All those Okies and Arkies and Texans had a lot of hard times and good material for beer-drinking, tear-jerking music. For them, it was just a natural thing."
That's about the time Bill Monroe talked me into doing a bluegrass album.
We did some of my originals and a few bluegrass standards. Rose Maddox Sings Bluegrass came out in November of '62, the first bluegrass long play recorded by a woman.
Some say it was my best traditional recording.
The Maddox brothers and Rose always had their own style, but their home was Alabama, and they sang a lot of the old Southern style of singing.
Blue moon up, keep happy, keep on shining. Shine on the one it's gone and proved and true.
Then those long hairs from Liverpool invaded. Capitol had them and the Beach Boys and Sinatra. They didn't need me no more. I got one more session under my belt that produced Mad at the World, and I was.
That was late 1967. You joined my road show.
With me opening and Roy Nichols in your band, it was a reunion of Okies.
I was thrilled to have you as part of the show.
Chris Strackwitz saved my career, and probably my life. He started our Hooley Records in 1960 to record and reissue old blues and hillbilly musics and musicians. Our Hooley, y'all know what that means? It's based on an old sharecropper field holler or work song. Slaves used it to sing so they could communicate with each other so the boss man wouldn't know what they were saying. I could have used that with Mama. Somewhere along the line, he got hooked on American roots music and decided to record some. Started with a couple of blues singers in Texas and California. He branched out to Cajun and Zydeco along with that Mexican music. Over the years, he's recorded Big Joe Williams, Clifton Chenier, Country Joe and the Fish, Charlie Musselwhite, Big Mama Thornton, Flaco Jimenez, and Michael Duce. Sold mostly through mail order. In 2016, the Smithsonian Institution acquired our Hooley for the Smithsonian Folkways recordings. He's done a lot for music in this country and for my family. Back in '65, he started hosting a Sunday afternoon music program on KPFA Berkeley.
Appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, Mr. Strachwitz.
Please call me Chris. Pleasure's all mine, Miss Rose. You're still the queen as far as I'm concerned.
We sure admire what you and our Hooley have done to preserve and promote little-known music artists.
There's a lot of good music out there just waiting to be heard.
Including me and the boys.
Indeed. So let's pick up where we left off last time. Our listeners would like to know what you've been up to.
Me too.
You remained a force and a draw through the early 60s.
Some independent labels started releasing our old material, including Columbia.
You changed your look, too.
I sure did. I had my hair bleached and tinted platinum blonde. I was over 40, but I could still play the country glamour queen better than any wet behind the ears Nashville gal singer.
Don Pierce, who you'd worked with years ago, signed you to a deal with Starday Records.
It was nice being back on a legit label again.
Rose is just absolutely... I remember he said she sang like a bird. She is just absolutely a K-star, and she's got balls.
I do, when I need them.
Your first album with Starday was called Rosie.
It was a rollicker, pure honky-tonk with lots of pedal steel.
In 1967, the Country Music Hall of Fame opened. They gave you one of the first squares on their Walkway of Stars.
Although I was selling some records, getting radio play and doing shows, I couldn't seem to break through with the new Nashville brass.
I expect part of it had to do with the old rivalry between Nashville and Southern California.
Probably did. Regardless, country music was thriving.
TV exposure helped. Roger Miller and Jimmy Dean had shows. Hee Haw and the Johnny Cash Show and Glenn Campbell's Good Time Hour were on.
Nashville and Hollywood started pumping out country pop acts like Campbell and Bobby Goldsboro. Us old goats couldn't compete.
Old goats? No, ma'am. You still had plenty of gas in the tank.
I sure did.
Yes, I'm just mad at the world, mad at the world. I don't care about the world and all that's in it.
I started taking some pills, Benny's, mostly for the road. I found out them pills could keep me awake. These guys kept saying, well, you got a long way to drive, better take one of these. If I had a particularly long seizure ahead of me, I would take one, because I still drove practically all my dates. Up until then, I wouldn't own a pill if I met one in the road. I don't call that drugs. I know benzodrine is a form of it, but to me, at least, Benny wasn't taking drugs. All everybody said to me is, what do you take? I says, nothing. And they'd say, don't you tell me that. You can't go up there and put on a show like you do unless you're on something. I know others go out there all pilled up. That's the only way they can get on stage and do a show. But I was never one of them. All it is, you've either got it or you ain't got it. End of story.
In '63, Cashbox magazine named Rose top female country vocalist. All those years and hard work had finally paid off. It came on the heels of her 5th LP for Capitol, Alone with You.
Everything was good.
But where there's good, there's always some bad.
Lights up on the Oceanside apartment. It's the middle of the night. Younger Rose enters, looking disheveled. Drugs, drink, and sex have taken their toll. Jimmy storms in and confronts her.
Jimmy, I thought you were asleep.
Well, you're wrong.
What are you doing?
Just the question I was going to ask you. Where were you?
I needed to get the drummer's costume to get it clean.
At 3 o'clock in the morning?
I had the rest of the band, so I just needed help.
A likely story.
It's true, I swear.
I thought we were getting along okay, Rose. When you offered to quit performing and be more of a wife and mother, I said no.
What you said was that I was too great a talent to deprive the world of my singing.
I truly believe that.
Oh, come on. Truth be told, given the choice between wedded bliss and cash in hand, you always follow the cash. That's why you became my manager. As always for me, romance and family and business are all tied together.
As always, business comes first.
We're just traveling two different roads.
You're getting a reputation for being hard to work with, particularly with drummers and bass
I
players.
can't argue with that.
You're in bad shape, Rose. Too much drinking, too many pills. Hell, Capitol canceled a couple of your sessions and shelved some of your recordings because they weren't up to snuff.
I ain't up to snuff either. I can't sing. I'm always pissed off.
I'll say.
And I'm tired. Our marriage is falling apart. Me and the family aren't talking. Who wouldn't be a little grumpy?
So you go and get involved with some musicians.
It wasn't all me.
How are we going to make a marriage work if you're out playing around?
Like I told my girlfriend, if you're getting what you're supposed to at home, you don't go looking for it somewhere else.
I should have known you'd pull something like this.
You followed me up there just now, didn't you?
Yeah, you bet I did. So I could find out the truth. Now you look me in the eye and tell me, what the hell is going on here?
They start to get physical. Jimmy grabs Rose. She pushes him away, at times pushing firmly.
Like I said, nothing.
I'll nothing you. Get back here.
Jimmy grapples with Rose, who slips and loses her balance. She falls and hits her face. She looks up. She touches her right eye. It's bleeding.
What the hell, Jimmy? Now look at what you've gone and done.
Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. Are you all right?
Do I look all right? I'm bleeding like a stuck pig.
I'm sorry, honey. I just grabbed you and you must have slipped. It was an accident.
I know, Jimmy. I know. I kind of lost my balance.
You scared the daylights out of me. Let me get you some ice. Then we'd better get you to the hospital and have them take a look. It really was an accident, you know.
I know. At the hospital, they sewed me up. I was in there for a couple of days. When I got out, I had a tour to do.
I never, ever intentionally hit you.
I know, but it sure did cause a lot of gossip.
It really did. Sad to say, by this time our marriage was over. We wanted the marriage to work, but there was no saving it.
While my personal life was going straight to hell, my professional life was charting. Things was going so well, people started saying I could take back Kitty Well's crown as queen of country music. Capitol kept me in the studio. I was working 6 or 7 nights a week. I was playing locally and around the world. Believe me, it was getting hard to keep up with.
Not only are we traveling 2 different roads, Rose, but we've become 2 different kinds of people. The more time I spend out on the road with you, I feel like I'm losing something myself. I'm done with the road. I'm not going out there anymore.
It ain't in your blood. It's in mine.
It won't be easy for me.
Or me.
I don't want to fight.
Nobody's mad at nobody.
I think we're both sad we can't make it work.
Either can't or won't. Whichever way, we're just not happy about it.
Probably, too. I'm in love with you, the star, instead of you, the person.
My professional life has cheated me of my personal life. Again. It isn't Mom or the boys' fault this time. It's all mine.
There just isn't enough of you to go around for any of you to be left for me. Goodbye, Rose, and good luck.
But as in all of my tragedies, I had my music to fall back on. If I didn't have that, I think I'd just wither up and die. Because I could sing out my problem. That's the release for my tragedies.
Sing a little song of heartache, a pillow full of tears, pouring 20 memories
look terrible every time you come up here for a visit.
I'm just a little tired and messed up.
I'm embarrassed for you. You're in bad shape. You look so drained, so emotionally wasted.
It's just a rough patch I'm going through.
I'm not sure if you're on dope or just really upset.
I've said it time and time again, I don't do dope.
Well, all I'm saying is that you've got to start pulling yourself together and getting on the right track.
I want things to be better, like they was.
I don't know if there's any way of going back. You and Jimmy have got to where you don't get along, and he's beating you up, and I don't know how many times.
Not true, brother. It was one time, and it was an accident.
You keep believing that, baby girl.
It's the truth. So, what does my boy want for his 21st birthday? Something special?
I sure do.
You just name it. No matter how hard it is to get, I'll get it for you.
It's not that hard at all. I want to be a musician.
You don't say. When did you learn to play?
Now, Uncle Cal taught me some. I'm getting pretty fair, and I want to be your backup.
What do you play?
The rhythm guitar, and a little bass.
Well, that's great. You can join me in Albuquerque. I'm touring New Mexico and Texas. We'll see how it goes. You know, it ain't easy.
I know. A lot of miles. From the airport to the club for the show to the hotel, head out for the next town and the next gig, and do it all over again.
Gotta say, I welcome the company. I get tired of these endless, lonely tours, killing time in honky-tonks, fighting off the cowboys, long drives, Benjadrine jitters, nothing to do but think about the past, about Mama and Jimmy, and all the love that got spoiled between us.
One day, when the rest of the band don't know a single thing you do and you're thinking, uh-oh, I'm in big trouble, I'll be there to pull it all together. It's what I've been waiting for. It's in my blood, too.
Hey, stop the world and let me on. I'm tired of going round and round. I played the game of living long.
We were spending more and more time in Ashland with Uncle Cal and Grandma Lulu.
Mama was getting worse. It was Alzheimer's.
You still find the time to play most every Saturday night over in town.
Henry and Don would join me from time to time.
I was getting worried about you. You was pushing yourself hard to take care of Mama.
I had my first heart attack in '68.
You was just 60.
We were working in Newport. Then we came over to Talent on Saturday night and worked with you, Don, and Henry. And I really appreciated playing with the family.
It was the first time in several years we'd all worked together as the Maddox brothers in rows.
Fred wasn't there, but the familiar family chemistry was.
We got up early Sunday and headed home to Corona.
I got up early, too. Made sure Mama was quiet and content, then stepped outside. Oh, it was a beautiful Oregon morning, and I thought about the previous night's dance, how good we were, and how nice it was to play with the family again. And I smiled to myself.
No sooner had we gotten to Corona than Uncle Don called.
Cal had a heart attack and died right there in the front yard. July 3rd, 1968. I was opening in Las Vegas that week.
Uncle Don and Grandma Mom made the funeral arrangements.
I opened the show in Vegas, then me and you left the band there to go up for the funeral. I flew back right after and was on stage the next night.
Only missed one show.
Mama just fell apart after Cal died.
Somebody had to take care of her, so me and you moved up to Ashland.
When Buck offered us a place on his next road show, I couldn't say no.
You was flying more, so you wouldn't be gone long from Grandma Ma and home.
Mama, I've been booked for a show in Tucson.
I'm begging you not to go, Rose.
Donnie ain't going, Mama. He's playing local so he can keep an eye on you.
I don't want you to go. You're my little girl. You need to stay here with me.
I can't, Mama. I have to go.
You need to listen to me, girl. You need to do what I say. I ain't getting any younger.
I was standing there, talking to her. She just went down. She died right there, a year almost to the day of Cal's passing. I pulled myself together, called the brothers, and canceled my show in Tucson.
It was Mama who got us everything.
In spite of all our battles, I never lost my love and respect for Mama.
Mama made the Maddox brothers and Rose.
She's the one who insisted on hiring Nathan Turk to costume us.
Kept tabs on every recording session.
Gave orders to us, record companies, booking agents, and radio executives.
Held and guarded our earnings.
Created our stage act in the colorful sense of style that brought us fame.
Chased me down every time she knew I'd slipped out.
To outsiders, she may have seemed tough and mean.
She may have been, but it's because she loved us above all else.
Without her, we never would have gone as far as we did.
Want to know what kind of person Mama was? Well, one day she walked into the Cadillac showroom and said, "I want one of these and one of those and a white one and a black one and one of there and that one there." The salesman couldn't believe it, and she asked, They asked, "How are you going to pay for these?" She said, "Cash." She pulled out a paper bag and laid it out 30 grand. Okay? We all got into those Cadillacs and drove away. Although she always bought one Cadillac just for herself. She never learned to drive.
Mama's death hurt. Still hurts. But what really hurt was what I found after she was gone.
A safe deposit box filled with $100,000 in cash. Rat hold from all those years of selling key fobs, 8x10 glossies and recordings, living through the Depression like she done. She saved every penny she could.
With everything that happened, I just had to get away. So I went to Vegas.
To see Jerry Lee Lewis.
At the International Hotel.
The killer.
That's me, the killer.
I was a big fan.
And I was riding high. Had just started with another place, another time.
You had a reputation as a wild man.
That's who I am.
It turned me on.
I had that effect on a lot of ladies.
I fell hard.
We painted town red and a lot of other things.
We got together after our show, had breakfast, I vaguely recall.
Oh yes, the breakfast of champions. Pills washed down with whiskey and eggs Benedict.
You was pretty good friends.
And then some.
Steer me right, but Mama tried to raise me better, but her clean I denied. That leaves only me to blame, 'cause Mama tried.
Some say I was acting more and more like Mama, especially when it came to music and performing. It was my way or the highway. I had no patience for bad manners or bad players. Because of the rumors of my health, lots of folks thought I was a risky booking. We lost Henry in '74. Now it was just me, Fred, and Dawn. So I took it upon myself to get our family the recognition it deserved. People started talking about me as a pioneer. You know it's over when they start doing retrospectives. I weren't the headliner no more, just a guest star. I played lounges and honky-tonks, took what they gave me. The crowd loved me, but there was no glory. The rest of those years were a blur. I played to some good crowds, but didn't get paid as much as I used to. Throughout the '70s, my days and nights was all pretty much the same routine. Driving, arriving, waiting through dusk, then taking the stage to let out all the frustrations and energy building up inside. Like always, the only time I felt at home was when I was on the stage.
In 1976, you played the Western Regional Folklife Festival.
That's when you and me met for the first time. I played lots of folk festivals and got to meet lots of folks who had liked my music. They saw me as an artist, not a crotchety throwback.
In '77, you cut an album for Tacoma.
I got more work, mostly fairs, clubs, festivals, and lounges.
Two things came together just about then that helped you put you back in the spotlight. Punk rock, which gave a boost to rockabilly, and the film Urban Cowboy, which gave country music a shot in the arm.
The gays on the West Coast went crazy over Urban Cowboy and started booking country acts. They loved this old gal. I played Frisco and the gay rodeo in Reno.
Betty had the bathhouses on the East Coast. You had the rodeos on the West Coast.
I became the queen of the gay rodeo.
The folks in Nashville couldn't deal with it.
Screw 'em! People is just people, and the homosexuals always treated us great and paid us well. I don't care what they do or what anyone does, as long as they're civil and friendly.
Then the punk rock fans rediscovered Rockabilly. They started resurrecting the old stars.
That led to me getting gigs in Hollywood nightclubs.
Even led to some young folks forming bands with a girl singer and them covering your tunes.
Go figure.
I was starting to have some health issues. All that hard living started to catch up with me. Lost half my stomach to ulcers, had a couple of heart attacks. I was knocking on heaven's door. I was dying and I knew it. They put me in a hospital in Ashland on New Year's Eve, but all I could think about was how my bookings I had to cancel. I survived that and went back out. But heart trouble ran in my family. It wasn't done with us yet. Donnie had a heart attack and 5 bypasses. Fred had 3. One night Donnie told me he was getting these shooting pains going from his eyes to the back of his skull. Then I got the phone call. Donnie had a stroke. When I got to the hospital, first thing he says to me is, "You're gonna have to get someone else to play bass for you in Reno, Rose." I said goodbye, knowing it was the final one. I went to that gig in Reno. My boy Donnie died the next day. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. We got his body home and I sang Gathering Flowers for the Master's Bouquet at his service. He called me Mama. Never called me Mom. Always just Rose. Plain old, rambling Rose.
Like always, you look to music for comfort.
Lord, I did. I had to.
You recorded an album of gospel songs with Vern Williams for us. We released it in 1980.
In '83, I appeared on Prairie Home Companion, backed by Chet Akins and Johnny Gimbel.
Then you did Queen of the West with Merle Haggard and the Strangers.
It was good down-home California country music.
With Emmylou Harris singing harmony.
Sure enough, recorded it back home in Modesto. One of my favorite off that album was a song Hagro called Downtown Modesto.
We released a couple more on our Hulu. Things took off again.
Fred started joining us for shows. Remember, even covered that tour of Europe? When I got back from overseas, we both attended a big 50th anniversary tribute to us.
And the California Western Swing Society.
We've come a long way from being fruit tramps in 37 to celebrating 50 years in show business in 87. We got some nice plaques and letters from President Reagan, Governor Duke Magian, and the state legislature of California and Nevada.
They inducted you into their Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we kicked off the show with I Want to Live and Love.
I did my thing saying, "Yes, sir," and howdy, folks. How y'all doing today? Give us a great big smile, won't you? Thanks a million, folks. Now, let's smile and dance with Fred Maddox and my sister Rose.
I would have liked to call out the brothers' names.
Sure would have been nice if they was there.
Yeah, we was it.
Excepting for Dawn.
Last one standing.
Where'd the time go?
I wasn't even close to calling it quits. Don't put no fork in me, son. I cannot do without my music. I've got to have it. If I didn't have my music, I'd roll over and cash it in. I'm not ready for that. I've still got another 100 years ahead of me.
You played everything and everything in between. San Joaquin Valley honky-tonks and LA nightclubs.
I made a few guest appearances with Loretta Hagg and some of the young country groups like the Desert Rose Band.
Those kids sure could pick and grin.
Oh, it was mighty fine.
The Country Town label finally published The Moon is Rising in 1996.
When I turned 64, I had another series of heart attacks. Real bad ones. Guess I was in a coma? When I wake up, I thought I'd been out for one night. It had been 3 months.
While you was out, your country cousins had held more than 30 benefits to help cover your hospital costs. That's what country does. Takes care of its own.
I got better and was singing again in no time. Sometimes from a wheelchair. I did the Palomino and some tribute shows. I look bad, but I sung good. I appeared on the Nashville Network's Nashville Now with Emmy Lou and did a song at Haggard that he wrote for us. It was called Dusty Memories. We got you to join in.
We did a PBS documentary called Bakersfield Country. They got us an Emmy nomination. We lost to Tim Conway.
Who the heck is Tim Conway?
Good times, but hard times ain't never far away. Not long after that, I had a heart attack.
The old family heart condition took him. That was just me and Don. I was in a spot. I committed to 3 shows in Idaho. I didn't have enough money to make it to the funeral in Delano. That's when I called Hag. Said I needed a plane ticket. You got it, he said. I made 2 of those Idaho shows and Fred's funeral. Fred lay in an open casket draped in an American flag. His bass fiddle was covered with flowers. Merle and Roy Nichols were pallbearers. At the cemetery, we sang till the circle be unbroken.
Dusty memories take me back to the hardest times of all. No rain, no money, everyone was hungry, and the bank that had my savings took a fall. Dusty memories I still need to recall.
I continue to live my life as I always have, biding my time till the sun sets and the nightclub fills, when I can once more take to the stage. It's only on stage that I'm at ease, surrounded by the audience, the best friends I've ever known, and relying on the strongest guiding force in my life, the songs I've always sung. I've never expected nothing. I just did what I had to do, and I was better than just about anyone else. I sang from the gut as much as from the heart. I gave it everything I got. We started with nothing but $35 and a dream. And who knows, maybe I'll write me a song about that, get me nominated for a Grammy.
I remember my brothers and the sweet harmony. All have passed on except Don and me. But I still sing the songs of the memories we made. The heyday is over, but the feeling remains.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. I worked with Rose Maddox a lot back over the years, and I found that when she started working my show that she was probably the most fascinating, exciting performer that I've ever seen in my life. She was a total performer. She captivated the audience. She held them in the palm of her hand and made them do whatever she wanted to. The songs that she sang were classics, and I loved the way she sang and kind of danced at the same time. I thought there was and still think that there'll never be a woman who could outperform Rose Maddox. She's an American classic.
She did record that album, and in 1996, $35 and a Dream got nominated for a Grammy Award.